Jim Winston here at DB Fine Wines, and today we're going to be doing a tasting that compares Bordeaux with Bordeaux varietal produced elsewhere. And I'm really excited with this tasting flight. We have 4 wines that are going to be coming from Bordeaux itself, and then we have a whole bunch of interesting areas that are going to be looked at in combination to contrast and compare. Bordeaux is my favorite zone for wine. It's where I cut my teeth. My 2 portals to loving wine are wine and food in combination, and specifically Bordeaux. 1970 vintage was the first vintage I started to really seriously look at, and it was more than just the wine. It was also the estates. It spoke to my interest in history and looking at maps. And all the wonderful pictures of the various chateaux, and it just captured me, and I've been loving red Bordeaux ever since. Now, when we look at red Bordeaux, there are 5 varietals that are produced that have to be part of what that recipe is. They don't all have to be in there. Most important is Merlot, then Cabernet Sauvignon, Petit Verdot, Cabernet Franc, and then a little bit of Malbec. In the 19th century, they also had Carmenere, small amounts of Carmenere, and I think maybe there might be 1 or 2 estates that have started to include some Carmenere in the blend. But that's it. Those are the 5 varietals. And for the rest of the world who are trying to measure up to the greatness of red Bordeaux, they want to use those types of varietals as well. In California, the term that was coined to deal with this was meritage, portmanteau word that combines merit and heritage. And so we're looking at a very basic set of grapes, varietals that are employed. On the white side, Sauvignon Blanc, and typically it is going to be blended in Bordeaux with some Semillon and maybe some Muscadel. And sometimes Semillon actually can be the dominating grape. So here we are. We're going to start with 4 Bordeaux, as I say. The first 2 are from an area called Margaux, and this is on the left bank of the Gironde estuary. And both of these wines are second labels to premier classified Bordeaux, and they're always a great value for enjoying beautiful Bordeaux less expensively. So we have L'Orme de Rozon Gassis. The first wine that we're going to lead with is Moulin d'Issin. And then we were going to be looking at a wine from Grave, which is the area that sits just below Bordeaux proper. And what's interesting here is that both Margaux and Grave are known for being Cabernet most important. The rest of Bordeaux, it's always Merlot. But here we have 3 wines that come from Cabernet most important, yet mostly what we see in these blends are going to be Merlot. Then we're going to be looking at a wine from Fronsac, La Vieille Cure. And this is a wine I love. We did a wine tasting last month, and this was my favorite wine of that tasting. And spoiler alert, it's still my favorite wine on the flight. And so we're excited about that. And then we're going to be going to other areas of the world. We'll begin with a wine from Israel. And this is the wine is called Hermon, and it comes from the north part of Israel, the Galilee. We will then follow it. Look at this, folks. Talk about a novelty. This is a wine. Besa Valley is from Bulgaria. It's the first time I've ever had a Bulgarian wine to taste. And what we're seeing in areas that are emerging into our market from Eastern and Central Europe is a renaissance of winemaking. Now, folks, the winemaking in these areas, whether it be Bulgaria here or Romania or certainly Hungary is more well known perhaps, Czech Republic, we did a tasting last month with a wine from the Czech Republic, is that with the fall of the Iron Curtain, there has been an amazing investment coming from outside the country's borders, lured by the less costly land and the opportunity for vines to be planted in some great terroir. In this particular case, Besa Valley is owned by the same person who owns Shannon La Gaffeliere in Saint-Emilion, and he owns like 4 other estates in Bordeaux as well. Then we will go to a wine I've done before. I love the wine Best's Great Western. And it says Cabernet on the label, but there is Bordeaux varietal that's put in as well, so that's going to be fun to taste. We're going to go to South Africa next with a wine that is something it's beautiful. It's Botanica from Stellenbosch, and a terrific wine, an American winemaker, as a matter of fact. We will finally get with the red wine coming from Napa Valley. It's a wine that Charles and I both tasted, and boy, it's fantastic. It's from Jack's Vineyards, and it's called Y3 Toro Red, and that is a soft and beautiful wine. And then we will close with a wine from Tuscany. It's a Super Tuscan Avignesi, and this is another wine that Charles and I have tasted, and also in previous vintage, and it is rocking. So that is what we're doing on the red side. And then we have 2 whites to put into the tasting at the end. We'll begin with a Sauvignon Blanc from Napa Valley Vista, and then we are going to be tasting a Clos Floridien, which is from Bordeaux. And it's a 2011. And the one thing I want you to see about this wine is you take a look at this right away, just from the color alone, and it's going to tell you, this is a 2011, folks. It's not something that you typically come to taste, which is an aged out Bordeaux Blanc. And you have to understand it. This is not something that you're just going to willy-nilly open up an aged out Bordeaux Blanc. When I think of Bordeaux Blanc, I want to be able to open it up and enjoy it with, you know, trout and some wonderful fish, or some chicken, or just to have it as an aperitif. But I'm not looking for a Bordeaux Blanc, certainly not a Bordeaux Blanc that is more modestly priced, that is going to be something like this. That is a very distinctive white wine. Might not be for everyone. It has candy glacé fruit on the scent that's very pronounced, and then on the palate, freshness comes up, wonderful acidity, wine clears, and it has length. I'm still tasting the wine. But again, it's something that is fun. In its way, it is as much a novelty on this tasting flight as the wine from Bulgaria. Cheers.